War does not just create heroes, it creates ghosts. And sometimes it awakens something that was already there. When we think of the American Civil War, we picture cannons, blue and gray uniforms, brothers fighting brothers. We think of Gettysburg, Antietam, and endless rows of white crosses. But in the deep forests of the Appalachian Mountains, far from the neat lines of battle, soldiers from both sides reported something far stranger. They claimed the woods were not empty. They said something was watching them, and sometimes something was hunting them. By 1863, the war had turned brutal. Any illusion of honor had long been buried beneath mud and blood. Entire towns were burned, farms destroyed, families divided. The Appalachian region, stretching across Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, and beyond, became a chaotic no-man's land of skirmishes, ambushes, and guerrilla warfare. But among the letters sent home by frightened young soldiers, there were whispers of something else. Not enemy scouts, not deserters, not bandits. They described massive figures moving silently between trees, creatures shaped like men, but broader, taller, covered in thick hair. They moved on two legs, they climbed like animals, and they vanished without leaving tracks. One Union private stationed near Harper's Ferry wrote that men in his garrison opened fire one night at what they believed was a devil raiding the food stores. According to the account, the figure was nearly 8 feet tall, covered head to toe in dark hair, and moved with terrifying speed. It scaled a wall. It disappeared into the forest. No body was ever found. Confederate soldiers would tell similar stories. In the Cumberland Mountains of Tennessee, a company of men began vanishing from their posts. One by one, sentries assigned beneath a massive oak tree disappeared overnight. Their rifles were found on the ground. There were signs of a struggle, but beyond a small radius, no footprints, no drag marks, nothing. Panic spread through the camp. Some believed Union scouts were creeping in under darkness. Others whispered about spirits in the mountains. Finally, the captain decided to lay a trap. 10 armed men surrounded the oak tree in silence. They waited. Hours passed. Then came the sound, rustling in the branches overhead. Not from the ground, from above. Something dropped from the tree. A massive, rag-covered figure slammed into the sentry like a falling boulder. What followed was chaos. It took all 10 men to subdue the creature. They described it as over 6 feet tall, immensely strong, with matted hair and a wild, unblinking stare. It made no human speech, only guttural sounds. Later, the soldiers discovered a cave in the mountains where the missing men were being held captive, alive, unharmed, tied to stakes. The wild man, as locals later claimed, had once been a mountain hermit driven insane by war and violence. But not every encounter ended in fear. One Confederate cavalryman told a different story. After being wounded in battle and left for dead, he awoke alone in the dark forest, his legs shattered, blood soaking the earth beneath him. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, he heard heavy footsteps approaching. Not boots, not horses, something heavier. He looked up into the night and saw 2 massive shapes standing over him. Tree trunk legs, broad chests, covered in fur.
They did not kill him. They dragged him away. When he awoke again, he was inside a cave, surrounded by the same towering beings. A fire crackled nearby. His wounds had been treated with crushed plants. His bleeding had stopped. The creatures, whatever they were, nursed him back to health over weeks. They brought him water, meat. They even used powdered lime to mask his scent from predators. He watched their young play in the firelight. He described their communication as a strange, complex language. He insisted they were intelligent. And when he was strong enough to walk again, they did something extraordinary. They gave him back his hat. Then they stepped aside and let him leave. Years later, as an old man, he returned to that forest, hoping to find them again. He heard only a distant howl. So what were these beings? Bigfoot? Feral hermits? Men driven mad by war? The Appalachian Mountains have always been a place of mystery. Long before the Civil War, Native American tribes told stories of wild forest guardians, powerful beings that lived between worlds. Across cultures, across continents, legends of hairy humanoids appear again and again. But war changes perception, exhaustion, blood loss, trauma, isolation. How much can the human mind endure before it begins to see monsters in the trees? Or perhaps the better question is, were the soldiers the only monsters in those woods? Because while armies slaughtered each other in the name of ideology, these creatures, if the stories are true, sometimes showed more mercy than men ever did. History records battles, but it does not always record what watched from the tree line. The Appalachian Mountains still stand today, quiet, ancient, unmoved by time. And if you ever find yourself walking alone beneath those towering oaks and you hear something moving above you in the branches, you may want to remember these stories. Because not all legends are born from imagination. Some are born from war, and war leaves witnesses, even the ones that don't wear uniforms.